He didn't expect that. Her husband was a human warrior. The city stretched like a jewel beneath the sky, its towers reflecting the sunlight in sharp, dazzling angles. Floating vehicles moved between the spires, leaving trails of soft light in their wake, and bridges of transparent material connected buildings in ways that seemed impossible. From a distance, the entire place appeared calm, almost peaceful, but the city was alive with activity. Merchants, diplomats, and travelers from distant planets moved along the streets, speaking in countless languages, each carrying the weight of their own world with them. Among the arrivals was an alien diplomat. His skin shimmered faintly in the sunlight, changing color slightly depending on the angle of the light. He walked with measured steps, his long fingers clasped behind his back, observing everything around him. He had come to this planet to negotiate trade agreements, to build bridges between species, and perhaps, unknowingly, to witness something extraordinary. Diplomacy had taught him to stay calm, to keep his curiosity hidden, but he found it difficult as he observed the city. There was a rhythm here, a kind of energy that humans did not usually possess in his experience. They seemed smaller, weaker, but there was something about them that made him pause. The diplomat had been briefed about the humans he was to meet. Among them was a woman of influence, known for her intelligence and careful judgment. She had a husband who was the subject of whispers among other species. They called him a warrior, a protector who had defended settlements on multiple planets, always appearing when danger threatened. The diplomat had read the reports, seen the data, and even studied the battles described in historical archives. Yet no report or record could prepare him for what he would encounter. He did not expect that a human, seemingly ordinary, could command such attention and respect, simply by being present. As the ceremony began, he watched the woman move through the crowd with grace, her every gesture precise yet relaxed. She spoke to each guest politely, her eyes alert, scanning for possible threats or opportunities. The diplomat noted the way she subtly positioned herself near her husband whenever there was a potential distraction. Her husband stood slightly apart, calm and steady. Even among other humans, his presence was unusual. He was taller than most, but not excessively so, and his build was strong without being intimidating. Yet, there was a certainty in the way he carried himself, a silent confidence that seemed to demand attention. The diplomat felt a strange pull of curiosity. He could not look away. The conversations moved around him, filled with polite introductions, discussions of trade, and exchanges of cultural knowledge. But the diplomat found himself observing the warrior more than anyone else. Each gesture, each glance, each small action seemed precise, purposeful, as if nothing he did was left to chance. The diplomat wondered how someone could maintain such control over himself, how a human could be so aware of every detail without appearing rigid or robotic. He was beginning to realize that humans, at least this one, were not what he had assumed. They were not fragile, not weak, not limited in the ways other species often perceived them. There was depth here, strength that did not announce itself with noise or power, but rather existed quietly, undeniably. Later, when the formalities concluded, the guests were invited to a garden terrace overlooking the city. The diplomat followed, keeping a respectful distance, yet keenly aware of every movement. The woman approached him, smiling politely, introducing him to a few others, then guiding him to a place near a fountain where the water reflected the sunlight in sparkling patterns. "I hope your journey was comfortable," she said, her voice calm but warm. He nodded, offering the standard diplomatic reply about the voyage. Yet as he spoke, his attention was drawn again to her husband, who stood near the edge of the terrace, surveying the city. He moved with a quiet authority, speaking to one of the attendants, then adjusting a small device on a hovering platform. There was a simplicity in his actions, but it was clear he understood more than most about the machinery, the people, and the situation at hand. It was fascinating. The diplomat remembered the reports that described humans as adaptable, resilient, and intelligent, but he had assumed those were general traits, not something that would manifest so clearly in one individual. This human seemed to embody everything the reports claimed, yet with a clarity and calmness that was unexpected. The diplomat wondered how someone could possess such skill without arrogance, how someone could command respect without demanding it. He felt a mixture of admiration and confusion. It challenged his assumptions about the species he had come to study. Perhaps humans were far more capable than the records suggested, far more remarkable in ways that did not rely on technology or numbers. As the afternoon progressed, the conversation among the guests continued. Some discussed trade agreements, others spoke of science and exploration, while a few shared stories of their home planets. The diplomat listened politely, contributing when necessary, but he could not help observing the human warrior. He noticed how the warrior's eyes followed the guests, how he responded to questions with measured answers, and how his presence seemed to subtly influence those around him. It was not overt control, not manipulation, but a quiet guidance that drew people naturally toward his leadership. The diplomat felt an unfamiliar respect growing inside him, one that mixed awe with something else, a kind of professional curiosity that he had never experienced before. He realized that humans, at least this one, could lead without domination, influence without coercion, and protect without violence. The woman finally noticed his gaze and tilted her head slightly, as if acknowledging that he had been observing her husband. She smiled faintly, a small gesture that did not go unnoticed. The diplomat felt a sudden awareness of the connection between the two, the understanding that her husband's presence was not just a personal matter, but a part of a larger balance in their lives. There was trust here, deep and unspoken, built on shared experiences and mutual respect. The diplomat reflected on how humans, unlike many other species, seemed capable of forming such bonds, bonds that strengthened rather than limited them. He found himself intrigued not just by the warrior, but by the dynamics he represented, the possibilities he suggested about human nature and potential. As the sun began to set, the city lights began to glow, turning the skyline into a tapestry of light and shadow. The diplomat walked along the terrace, watching the reflections dance on the water and the glow of the buildings shift as the day turned into evening. His mind was alive with thoughts and questions. He had expected a formal diplomatic visit, a series of polite exchanges and calculated observations. Instead, he had encountered something far more compelling, a human who defied expectations, a woman who commanded respect through intelligence and subtlety, and a partnership that spoke of trust, courage, and quiet strength. The diplomat felt a sense of anticipation, a realization that his visit had only just begun, and that there were lessons here he had not anticipated. When the evening gathering ended, the diplomat was invited to a private dinner at their home. The interior was simple, yet elegant, blending human and alien design in a way that felt harmonious. He noticed the warrior again, preparing a small device for their meal with careful hands, checking details that others might overlook. The alien diplomat's curiosity grew. He had expected to meet a human of some skill, but he had not expected to witness such precision and confidence in a seemingly ordinary person. It challenged everything he thought he knew about humanity. He wondered silently what other surprises this visit might hold, and whether he was ready to confront the reality of a species that could be underestimated at such perilous cost. As they sat down for dinner, the conversation began casually. The diplomat spoke of trade, of the city, and of the wonders of human technology. The warrior listened, occasionally offering observations that were thoughtful, precise, and unexpectedly insightful. The alien realized that this human did not need to boast or dominate to make his point. His presence alone, the careful selection of words and actions, conveyed knowledge, skill, and authority. For the diplomat, it was a revelation. He had arrived expecting to negotiate and observe. Instead, he was witnessing the quiet power of humanity in action. The dinner continued, and the diplomat found himself intrigued not just by what was said, but by the unspoken communication between the woman and her husband. Every glance, every small gesture, revealed a depth of understanding and mutual trust. He realized that humans, though often underestimated by other species, had a capacity for resilience, intelligence, and leadership that could rival the greatest civilizations he had encountered. For the first time, he began to see that his preconceived notions about humanity were incomplete, perhaps dangerously so. There was something here he had not expected, something extraordinary hidden within what seemed ordinary. By the time the evening ended, the diplomat felt a mix of admiration, curiosity, and respect. He had come to the planet to study humans, to negotiate agreements, and to observe from a distance. Instead, he had witnessed strength without arrogance, leadership without force, and skill without display. He had met a human warrior whose reputation was well-earned, and who had shown him that humans were capable of far more than reports or records could capture. As he prepared for the next day's discussions, he knew that his understanding of humanity had shifted forever. What he had expected to be a simple diplomatic visit had become an encounter with something remarkable, an introduction to the true capabilities of a species that, until now, he had underestimated. The morning arrived with a pale glow over the city, the sunlight soft as it reflected off the towers and glass streets. The diplomat awoke in his guest quarters, feeling a mixture of anticipation and curiosity. The events of the previous evening still lingered in his mind. He had expected a routine visit, formal discussions, and polite introductions, but instead he had encountered something far more intriguing, a human whose presence alone commanded respect, whose calm authority seemed to shape the environment around him. The diplomat was eager to continue the conversations, to observe more of this extraordinary human, and perhaps to understand what made him so exceptional. As he prepared for the day, he reviewed the notes he had made. Observations about body language, precision in actions, and subtle influence on others filled the pages. Every note reminded him that humans, despite their unassuming appearance, could contain depths far beyond what other species often assumed. He had read reports of human warriors, of their history and achievements, but nothing could prepare him for the quiet confidence he had witnessed. Humans were resilient in ways that went beyond physical strength. They adapted, they learned, they led, and they inspired. The diplomat was beginning to realize that this visit would challenge more than his professional expectations. It would challenge his understanding of an entire species. By mid-morning, the diplomat was escorted to the main council hall of the city. The room was vast, with walls that curved like the inside of a shell, reflecting light and amplifying sound. Humans and aliens alike moved within the hall, preparing for discussions about trade, technology, and cultural exchange. The diplomat noticed the human warrior across the room, interacting with both humans and aliens. The warrior's manner was calm and deliberate, his gestures clear but not ostentatious. He listened carefully, asked questions that revealed insight, and offered advice that seemed simple at first, but carried profound understanding. Every movement, every word appeared purposeful, as though he had considered countless possibilities before acting. The diplomat found himself watching, unable to turn away. There was a rhythm to the human's actions, a clarity that contrasted with the more formal, measured movements of the alien diplomats around him. During the council's opening session, a minor technical issue arose. A holographic display intended to show the city's energy systems flickered and failed to initialize properly. Several delegates murmured in concern, some expressing frustration, others unsure of how to respond. The human warrior stepped forward calmly, moving to the display. He examined the system with quick, precise gestures, identifying the problem within moments. Then, with careful hands and clear instructions, he adjusted the settings, and the display came alive. The diplomats and council members murmured in approval. The alien diplomat, observing closely, felt a sense of awe. The human skill was practical, efficient, and effective, yet it carried an air of confidence that did not intimidate but instead inspired trust. It was a skill born of experience, not of demonstration, and it captivated all who watched. After the technical issue was resolved, the council returned to discussions. The diplomat noticed subtle dynamics at play. The human warrior did not dominate the conversation. Instead, he guided it, steering it toward clarity and practical outcomes. Other delegates listened attentively, often pausing to consider his suggestions. Even the most skeptical individuals seemed to adopt his perspective, not out of fear, but out of respect for his insight and decisiveness. The diplomat marveled at this subtle power, this ability to influence and lead without force. He realized that humans, particularly this warrior, possessed a kind of authority that was earned through skill, observation, and calm judgment rather than intimidation or technology alone. As the morning passed, the diplomat found opportunities to speak with the warrior. Their conversation began cautiously, discussing the city's infrastructure, trade routes, and potential areas for cooperation. The warrior's responses were clear, thoughtful, and often included perspectives the diplomat had not considered. At one point, The diplomat suggested a method that seemed logical based on alien technology. But the warrior calmly explained an alternative approach that was more efficient, sustainable, and considerate of the human workforce involved. The diplomat was struck by the simplicity and effectiveness of the solution. It was a demonstration not of raw power, but of strategic thinking, practical skill, and respect for others' contributions. He began to understand that this was the essence of human resilience, the ability to find solutions that combined intelligence, ingenuity, and consideration. During a break in the council, the diplomat and the warrior walked along a terrace overlooking the city. The sunlight reflected on the towers, casting long shadows across the streets. The diplomat, intrigued, asked questions about the human's background, his experiences on other planets, and the reason for his reputation as a warrior. The human smiled slightly, a calm and unassuming expression. He explained that his role was not about seeking recognition, but about protecting and assisting communities in need. His travels had taught him the value of observation, adaptability, and quick decision-making. He emphasized that a true warrior did not rely solely on strength, but on understanding, patience, and the ability to inspire others to act wisely. The diplomat listened intently, realizing that this perspective was different from anything he had been taught about conflict or leadership. Humans approached challenges in ways that combined courage with strategy, creativity with practicality, and intelligence with empathy. As the afternoon wore on, a situation arose that tested the city's systems. A sudden surge in energy demand caused minor disruptions across several districts. Some systems began to fail, and a sense of urgency spread among the council members. The diplomat observed the human warrior immediately taking action. He coordinated teams of humans and aliens, delegating tasks with precision. He assessed the situation, made adjustments, and implemented solutions that stabilized the systems. The diplomat watched, impressed not only by the effectiveness of the actions, but also by the calm demeanor maintained throughout the process. There was no panic, no unnecessary haste, only steady observation and clear decision-making. The humans around him followed his lead without question, trusting his judgment completely. The diplomat was beginning to see why this human's reputation as a warrior extended beyond battles. He was a protector in every sense, capable of preventing disaster before it could escalate. After the immediate crisis was resolved, the council gathered to discuss lessons learned. The diplomat noticed how the human warrior encouraged collaboration, ensuring that both human and alien perspectives were considered. He emphasized teamwork, innovation, and mutual respect. There was no boastfulness, no display of superiority, only an insistence that problems be solved efficiently and wisely. The diplomat reflected on how different this approach was from his own species, where dominance and formal authority often overshadowed practical skill. Here was a species that thrived on adaptability, resilience, and cooperation, qualities that had allowed humans to survive and prosper even in challenging environments. The diplomat felt a sense of admiration and perhaps a little envy. Later, the diplomat and the woman returned to her home for a private discussion. The woman observed the diplomat carefully, aware of his growing curiosity and respect for her husband. She spoke about the city, its challenges, and the philosophy behind human approaches to problem-solving. The diplomat listened, fascinated by her insights, but his thoughts kept returning to the warrior. He realized that humans were not only strong and capable, but also deeply thoughtful and ethical in their actions. They sought solutions that preserved life, improved conditions, and fostered understanding. The diplomat felt a growing sense of wonder. He had expected humans to be limited, but he was discovering a species whose strength was subtle, pervasive, and profoundly effective. That evening, as the city lights flickered on, the diplomat and the warrior shared a quiet moment on the terrace. The diplomat expressed his admiration, acknowledging that he had underestimated humans. The warrior nodded, not with pride, but with quiet acknowledgement. He explained that humans often thrived in ways that were not obvious at first glance, that their ordinary appearance often masked extraordinary capability. The diplomat realized that he had learned a valuable lesson, not just about humans, but about assumptions, curiosity, and the importance of observing carefully before forming judgments. He felt a renewed sense of respect for the species he had come to study, and a growing understanding that humans could surpass expectations in remarkable ways. As night settled over the city, the diplomat retired to his quarters, reflecting on the events of the day. He had witnessed skill, leadership, and problem-solving that went beyond any report or historical record. He had seen a human warrior in action, not in battle, but in the careful orchestration of systems, people, and situations. The diplomat understood that this was a different kind of heroism, one built on intelligence, patience, and courage without recklessness. He realized that humans were capable of shaping their environment, inspiring others, and achieving remarkable outcomes even in challenging circumstances. For the first time, he felt that his mission was not simply about diplomacy, but about learning, understanding, and appreciating the extraordinary potential of a species that others often underestimated. The diplomat's thoughts lingered on the warrior's quiet strength, his thoughtful leadership, and the mutual trust between him and the woman. He recognized that human capability was not measured by size, technology, or dominance, but by adaptability, intelligence, and moral courage. The lessons of the day were clear. Humans could surprise, inspire, and achieve far more than expected. The diplomat felt anticipation for the days to come, eager to witness more of this remarkable species, and to explore the possibilities of collaboration, understanding, and mutual respect. He knew that his visit was only beginning, and that each encounter would offer new insights into the extraordinary nature of humanity. As he drifted into sleep, the city outside continued its quiet rhythm. Humans and aliens moved together, systems functioned, and life unfolded in a delicate balance of cooperation and skill. The diplomat felt a sense of connection to this world, a realization that humans were capable of far more than appearances suggested. He had arrived expecting simple diplomacy, but he had encountered something far greater, a glimpse into the true spirit of humanity, a force quiet but undeniable, capable of shaping the future with intelligence, courage, and care. The morning was quiet, almost deceptively calm. The diplomat woke early, the sunlight spilling through the tall windows of his quarters. He remembered the lessons of the previous day. Patience, observation, and understanding had revealed more about humanity than any report or record ever could. Today, he felt a sense of anticipation, though he did not yet know why. The city itself seemed alive with movement, yet there was a subtle tension in the air, a quiet alertness among those who worked to keep it functioning. Something had shifted, though the diplomat could not yet identify the source. He dressed quickly and joined the morning briefing in the central hall, where humans and aliens gathered to review the city's systems. The human warrior stood at the center, calm and composed as always. His eyes scanned the data flowing across holographic displays, noting irregularities and inconsistencies with careful precision. The diplomat watched, fascinated, as the warrior's hands moved gracefully over the controls, adjusting parameters, issuing instructions, and quietly guiding the teams working alongside him. There was no sense of panic, only focus and clear purpose. It was remarkable to witness such composure, especially given the complexity of the systems being monitored. As the morning briefing continued, a sudden alert sounded, a minor but unusual fluctuation in the city's energy grid. Systems that powered residential districts and public transport began to flicker, sending small surges of energy across the network. The technicians worked quickly to stabilize the flow, but the anomaly persisted. The diplomat noticed the murmurs spreading among the attendees, a mixture of concern and confusion. Other species might have panicked, debating blame or speculating about failure, but the human warrior remained steady. He moved through the crowd, observing the monitors, asking precise questions, and analyzing the data with efficiency that seemed almost instinctive. The diplomat realized that humans, in moments of challenge, did not respond with fear. They responded with action and clarity. The anomaly grew. What had begun as a minor fluctuation escalated to interruptions in power distribution across several districts. Hover vehicles slowed, communication devices flickered, and some automated systems shut down temporarily. Citizens noticed the changes, but there was no chaos, only mild concern. The warrior assessed the situation rapidly, identifying a central node in the energy grid that had been affected by a complex software glitch. It was the kind of problem that required not just technical skill, but adaptability, foresight, and coordination across multiple teams. The diplomat watched in awe as the human issued instructions with calm authority, delegating tasks, prioritizing actions, and guiding both human and alien technicians to stabilize the system. The diplomat stepped closer, observing the warrior's method. Each action was precise and deliberate. The humans working under him moved with purpose, following instructions without hesitation, while the alien teams adapted quickly, responding to the warrior's clear guidance. The diplomat realized that leadership was not about dominance or force, but about clarity, trust, and the ability to understand the strengths of everyone involved. The human's calm approach reassured those around him, fostering cooperation and efficiency rather than fear. It was a display of intelligence, courage, and emotional composure all at once, a combination the diplomat had rarely encountered in any species. As the situation continued, the warrior identified the root of the problem. The central node's software had been corrupted by an unexpected sequence, one that no automated system could correct on its own. The diplomat suggested using advanced alien protocols to override the system, but the warrior paused, considering the implications. Instead, he proposed a different approach, one that combined human intuition, creative problem-solving, and the unique capabilities of both human and alien technology. The solution was elegant in its simplicity. Rather than forcing the system to conform to a rigid protocol, he guided it to adapt, using subtle adjustments and feedback loops. The diplomat watched closely as the plan unfolded, amazed by the ingenuity involved. Hours passed as the teams worked together under the warrior's guidance. The diplomat noticed subtle dynamics at play. The warrior encouraged collaboration, ensuring that every participant's knowledge was used effectively. He checked and double-checked the work not to control but to prevent mistakes. When small setbacks occurred, he calmly recalibrated the approach, explaining the reasoning behind each adjustment. There was no blame, no frustration, only focus on the task at hand. The diplomat reflected on how human resilience was not just about physical ability or raw intelligence, but about patience, adaptability, and the ability to inspire others to do their best. Finally, after careful coordination and thoughtful adjustments, the energy grid stabilized. The surges stopped, the flickering ceased, and the systems returned to full functionality. Citizens noticed the restoration with relief, some offering quiet applause, others simply observing the smooth return of normalcy. The diplomat felt a profound sense of admiration. The warrior had solved a problem that threatened thousands of lives and critical infrastructure, doing so without panic or rash action. It was not brute force that had succeeded, but intelligence, observation, and careful planning. Humans, he realized, were capable of greatness in ways that could not always be measured or predicted. After the crisis, the council convened to review the events. The diplomat joined the discussion, eager to understand the human perspective. The warrior spoke calmly, highlighting the importance of preparation, flexibility, and teamwork. He emphasized that challenges were opportunities to learn and improve, not reasons to assign blame or demonstrate superiority. The diplomat listened closely, noting the wisdom in these statements. Humans approached problems not only with courage and skill, but with a moral clarity that ensured the well-being of others. It was a type of strength that extended beyond personal achievement, focusing instead on collective success and shared responsibility. Later, the diplomat was invited to a private conversation with the woman. She spoke of her husband's philosophy, explaining that his role as a warrior was not defined by combat or aggression, but by the protection and guidance of others. She recounted examples of his actions on other planets, illustrating how humans had solved complex crises through ingenuity, cooperation, and careful planning. The diplomat realized that what he had witnessed was only a fraction of humanity's capability. Humans thrived not through dominance or intimidation, but through creativity, trust, and the ability to face uncertainty with calm determination. It was an approach that other species might not immediately understand, but its effectiveness was undeniable. As the day drew to a close, the diplomat and the warrior walked through the city. The streets were alive with activity, citizens moving with purpose, technology functioning seamlessly, and the atmosphere calm yet vibrant. The diplomat observed the warrior interact with the people, offering guidance, reassurance, and subtle encouragement. Each gesture was thoughtful, each word measured. The diplomat realized that the human's influence was not based on fear or authority, but on respect and competence. It was a form of leadership that inspired loyalty and trust naturally, without demanding it. The diplomat felt a growing sense of appreciation for the species he had come to study. During the walk, a minor incident occurred. A delivery drone experienced a malfunction, threatening to fall into a crowded area. The warrior reacted instantly, directing a nearby technician to intercept it, then adjusting the drone's trajectory with a precise hand movement. The diplomat watched in amazement. The situation was resolved without harm, efficiently and calmly. This small event reinforced everything the diplomat had learned that day. Humans were capable of rapid assessment, creative problem-solving, and decisive action, all while maintaining composure and considering the well-being of others. It was a remarkable combination of skill and humanity. Back at their home, the diplomat reflected on the events of the day. He had arrived expecting a formal visit, filled with polite exchanges and observation. Instead, he had witnessed the extraordinary capabilities of a human warrior, not in battle, but in leadership, problem-solving, and the protection of society. The diplomat recognized that humans possessed a type of strength that other species often overlooked, an intelligence that was adaptive, a courage that was quiet but firm, and a moral clarity that guided action without force. He felt a sense of inspiration and a desire to learn more. That evening, the diplomat observed the warrior assisting in preparations for the next day. He noticed the careful attention to detail, the methodical approach, and the quiet efficiency. The woman moved beside him, observing and supporting, her trust in her husband evident in every gesture. The diplomat felt a deep respect for the partnership they shared, understanding that true strength often came from mutual support and shared purpose. He realized that humans did not achieve greatness alone, but through cooperation, trust, and the ability to elevate those around them. As night fell, the city lights illuminated the streets and towers. The diplomat stood on the terrace, looking out at the vibrant world below. He reflected on the lessons of the day. Humans were resilient, capable, and remarkable in ways that reports and history had only hinted at. The warrior had demonstrated that true strength was not about size, weaponry, or intimidation, but about intelligence, calm decision-making, and the ability to guide others with clarity and respect. The diplomat felt a renewed sense of purpose, eager to continue learning from humans and to share the knowledge he had gained with his own people. Before retiring, the diplomat considered the journey ahead. He knew that challenges would continue to arise, that the city and its systems would face new tests. Yet he felt confident that humans, particularly those like the warrior, possessed the skills, insight, and courage to overcome them. The diplomat understood that his assumptions had been incomplete, that humans were capable of far more than he had imagined. The experiences of the day had reshaped his perspective, opening his mind to possibilities he had not anticipated. He fell asleep with a sense of wonder, anticipation, and deep respect for a species that exceeded expectations at every turn. The city outside continued its quiet hum, a blend of technology, life, and human ingenuity. Systems functioned smoothly, citizens moved with purpose, and the environment thrived under careful oversight. The diplomat knew that he was witnessing the true essence of humanity, the ability to rise to challenges, to solve problems creatively, and to lead with intelligence and integrity. He felt grateful for the opportunity to observe, to learn, and to be inspired by a species that had proven itself remarkable not through force, but through skill, wisdom, and quiet courage. The morning air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of the city's gardens and the faint hum of distant vehicles. The diplomat awoke with a sense of purpose, aware that today would be another opportunity to observe, learn, and understand more about humanity. After the previous days, he had already begun to adjust his assumptions, recognizing that humans were capable of extraordinary feats through intelligence, adaptability, and calm leadership. Yet, despite all he had witnessed, he felt there was still more to uncover. The human warrior, in particular, remained a mystery he could not fully understand. His quiet confidence, his ability to inspire trust, and his effortless command over complex situations hinted at depth beyond any description. The diplomat joined the morning briefing in the council hall, where humans and aliens alike gathered to review the city's progress. The warrior was present, as always, moving through the room with precision and calm. The diplomat noted how naturally the warrior navigated the space, interacting with both human and alien delegates, his gestures deliberate and measured. The warrior's presence seemed to instill a sense of order and focus among those around him. When he spoke, others listened, not out of fear, but because his words carried clarity and insight. The diplomat observed silently, reflecting on the subtle strength that humans possessed, a combination of intelligence, adaptability, and quiet confidence that allowed them to excel in ways many species underestimated. During the briefing, a sudden issue arose. One of the city's environmental monitoring systems detected irregular energy readings in a remote sector. The problem was not immediately dangerous, but it had the potential to affect multiple districts if left unresolved. The technicians reacted quickly, but confusion arose as they attempted to diagnose the anomaly. The diplomat watched the warrior step forward, calmly assessing the situation. His eyes scanned the data streams, his hands moving over the controls with precise efficiency. Within moments, he had identified the core of the issue, an unexpected feedback loop in the system that could have caused cascading failures if not corrected. Instead of reacting impulsively, the warrior took a measured approach. He called the relevant teams together, explaining the situation clearly and outlining a step-by-step plan to resolve it. His instructions were concise but thorough, leaving no room for misunderstanding. The diplomat was impressed by the clarity of his leadership, the calm that seemed to radiate from him, and the way he engaged both human and alien team members equally. There was no arrogance in his actions, no attempt to dominate or control. Instead, there was trust in the people around him and trust in the collaborative process. The diplomat realized that this was another example of what made humans remarkable, the ability to lead without force, to inspire cooperation through competence and clarity rather than intimidation. As the teams worked to resolve the anomaly, the diplomat observed the warrior's interactions with the technicians. He guided them patiently, answered questions thoughtfully, and adjusted the plan when unexpected obstacles arose. The diplomat noted how the human maintained focus, even when faced with minor setbacks. There was a quiet confidence in every action, a demonstration of skill and leadership that did not rely on fear or authority. Humans, he thought, seemed to thrive in uncertainty, able to adapt quickly and effectively. Their strength was not always visible, but it was undeniable in moments like these, when challenges demanded intelligence, creativity, and composure. Once the system was stabilized, the council held a brief discussion to review the lessons learned. The diplomat listened carefully as the warrior spoke about the importance of observation, analysis, and teamwork. He emphasized that every problem was an opportunity to learn and improve, and that mistakes were valuable only when they were used to refine understanding and processes. The diplomat reflected on the depth of this philosophy. It was not just about solving a technical problem. It was about fostering growth, encouraging collaboration, and instilling confidence in those around him. This approach, the diplomat realized, was what allowed humans to excel in complex and unpredictable environments. After the council session, the diplomat was invited to a private conversation with the woman. She spoke of her husband's experiences, describing situations on distant planets where humans had faced challenges that required quick thinking, adaptability, and courage. The diplomat listened, fascinated by the stories. He began to understand that the human warrior's abilities were not the result of chance or natural strength alone, but of careful observation, practice, and an unwavering commitment to the well-being of others. It was a form of leadership that relied on knowledge, empathy, and strategic thinking, rather than force or intimidation. The diplomat felt a deep respect growing within him, realizing that he had underestimated the human capacity for ingenuity and resilience. The woman then mentioned how the warrior's approach influenced her as well. She spoke of their partnership, of the mutual respect and trust that guided their decisions. She explained that humans often achieved greatness not in isolation, but through collaboration and understanding. The diplomat considered this, reflecting on the subtle lessons he had already observed. Humans worked together, valued the contributions of others, and approached challenges with a combination of courage and intelligence. This philosophy, he realized, was part of what made them extraordinary, and it extended beyond the warrior to the species as a whole. Later that afternoon, an unexpected event tested the city's infrastructure once more. A sudden storm had caused fluctuations in the energy and water supply systems, affecting multiple districts simultaneously. The council mobilized quickly, but uncertainty and concern spread among the participants. The diplomat watched as the human warrior assessed the situation with calm efficiency. He directed teams to stabilize the affected systems, coordinated repairs, and communicated clearly with both humans and aliens. Each decision was deliberate, based on observation and understanding rather than assumption or haste. The diplomat felt a sense of awe. Once again, humans demonstrated a remarkable ability to manage complex situations under pressure, combining intelligence, adaptability, and leadership in a way that surpassed expectations. During the crisis, the diplomat had the opportunity to observe the warrior up close. He noticed how the human balanced multiple tasks at once, responding to new information quickly and effectively. He guided teams with a calm but firm presence, ensuring that each action contributed to the overall solution. The diplomat realized that the warrior's skill was not merely technical, but strategic. He understood how to anticipate problems, leverage the strengths of those around him, and implement solutions efficiently. The diplomat marveled at the combination of intelligence, observation, and courage that defined this human's approach. It was a reminder that true strength often lay in subtlety and careful thought, rather than force or aggression. Once the storm passed and the city's systems stabilized, the council gathered to reflect on the events. The human warrior emphasized the importance of preparation, teamwork, and adaptability. He spoke of challenges as opportunities for growth and learning, encouraging participants to consider both immediate solutions and long-term improvements. The diplomat was impressed by the depth of this perspective. Humans, he realized, approached problems holistically, considering not only the immediate effects, but also the broader impact on society and individuals. This approach was rare, even among highly advanced civilizations, and it left a lasting impression on the diplomat. That evening, the diplomat joined the warrior and the woman in their home. The atmosphere was calm, a contrast to the day's challenges. The diplomat observed their interactions, noting the mutual respect and understanding that guided their partnership. The warrior spoke modestly about the day's events, emphasizing that success was a result of collaboration rather than individual achievement. The woman listened attentively, offering insights and support. The diplomat felt a sense of admiration for their relationship, recognizing that human strength was not only individual but also relational. Humans were capable of extraordinary feats, but they often achieved them through trust, cooperation, and shared purpose. As night fell, the diplomat reflected on the lessons of the day. He had witnessed humans respond to complex challenges with intelligence, creativity, and calm leadership. He had observed the warrior's ability to inspire trust and cooperation, and he had seen how humans approached problems with both courage and ethical consideration. The diplomat realized that he had underestimated humanity, assuming they were limited by their size, technology, or apparent fragility. In truth, humans possessed a unique combination of adaptability, intelligence, and moral clarity that allowed them to exceed expectations in remarkable ways. Before retiring, the diplomat took a moment on the terrace, overlooking the city illuminated by the soft glow of artificial lights. He considered the warrior's philosophy: preparation, observation, adaptability, and collaboration. These qualities, he realized, defined the human approach to challenges. They allowed humans to succeed not through force, but through intelligence, creativity, and ethical leadership. The diplomat felt a renewed sense of respect and admiration for the species he had come to study. He understood that his journey was not merely about diplomacy, but about learning, appreciating, and understanding humanity in its full complexity. As he prepared for sleep, the diplomat thought about the future. Challenges would continue to arise, both for the city and for humanity at large. Yet he felt confident that humans, particularly those like the warrior, possessed the skills, wisdom, and resilience to overcome any obstacle. The experiences of the day had reshaped his perspective, teaching him that strength was not always visible, that intelligence and courage often manifested in subtle yet powerful ways. He fell asleep with a sense of wonder, anticipation, and deep respect for a species that exceeded expectations at every turn. The city outside continued its quiet rhythm. Systems hummed efficiently, citizens moved with purpose, and the environment thrived under careful oversight. The diplomat understood that he was witnessing the essence of humanity, the ability to face uncertainty with clarity, to solve problems through ingenuity, and to lead with intelligence and integrity. He felt grateful for the opportunity to observe, to learn, and to be inspired by a species that had proven itself remarkable, not through force, but through skill, wisdom, and quiet courage. The morning air was cool and crisp as the diplomat prepared for another day in the city. The sun rose over the towers, casting long, golden beams across the streets and reflecting off the floating vehicles. The city was alive, but there was a noticeable sense of anticipation. Today was not like the others. The diplomat could feel it, though he could not yet understand why. Something in the air hinted at a test, an opportunity for humanity to demonstrate its extraordinary capabilities once more. He dressed carefully, ensuring that his attire reflected his diplomatic status, and left his quarters to meet the human warrior and the woman who had become his guides and teachers. The council hall was bustling when he arrived. Humans and aliens moved together, preparing for the day's discussions and inspections. The warrior stood calmly at the center, observing the monitors and coordinating teams with his usual composed efficiency. The diplomat watched as he moved through the crowd, noting how naturally people responded to his presence. There was no fear, no tension, only focus, respect, and trust. The diplomat had seen this before in smaller situations, but today it seemed different. The warrior's calm authority had a stronger pull, guiding not just people, but the very rhythm of activity in the hall. It was as if his presence alone could shape events, directing them toward order and success. The first signs of the day's challenge appeared almost immediately. Sensors along the city's energy and transportation networks began to indicate unusual fluctuations. Initially minor, the disturbances quickly escalated, affecting multiple sectors simultaneously. Hover vehicles slowed unexpectedly, communication devices flickered, and automated systems paused as technicians scrambled to assess the situation. The diplomat observed a rising tension among some alien delegates, who whispered concerns and questioned procedures. He, however, felt only confidence. He knew that the human warrior would guide everyone through this challenge, as he had done before, but the scale of this event seemed larger, more complex, and more demanding. The warrior quickly assessed the situation, scanning data streams with focused precision. He identified the origin of the problem, a simultaneous surge in multiple systems caused by an unexpected interference pattern in the energy grid. If left unresolved, it could have caused cascading failures across the city, affecting thousands of citizens and critical infrastructure. Unlike previous incidents, this challenge required not just technical skill, but strategic thinking, coordination across multiple teams, and the ability to make decisions under immense pressure. The diplomat observed as the warrior calmly began to organize response teams, delegating responsibilities, and explaining each step with clarity and purpose. The diplomat noticed how the warrior's instructions inspired immediate cooperation. Humans and aliens alike responded efficiently, following directions and adjusting their actions as new information emerged. The diplomat realized once again that leadership was not about asserting dominance, but about clarity, trust, and the ability to empower others. The human warrior did not command obedience. He guided, encouraged, and facilitated collaboration. Every action was purposeful, yet calm, giving confidence to all involved. The diplomat felt a sense of awe, understanding that human resilience and capability were not always obvious, but when tested, they revealed themselves in remarkable ways. As the crisis unfolded, small obstacles appeared. A secondary system showed signs of instability, threatening to interfere with the main corrective actions. Technicians debated the best way to proceed, uncertainty creeping into their movements. The warrior intervened with calm authority. He explained the issue clearly, proposing an innovative solution that combined human ingenuity with the strengths of alien technology. Rather than imposing a rigid protocol, he suggested a dynamic approach, allowing systems to adapt and respond to feedback in real time. The diplomat watched, astonished by the creativity and foresight involved. Humans, he realized, were capable not just of reaction, but of proactive innovation, finding solutions that others might overlook. The teams worked tirelessly under the warrior's guidance, making precise adjustments, monitoring feedback, and coordinating across multiple sectors. The diplomat observed the seamless collaboration, noticing how humans and aliens complemented each other's strengths. The warrior's calm presence prevented panic and confusion, turning potential chaos into focused efficiency. As hours passed, the systems began to stabilize. The surges diminished, the communication networks resumed normal operation, and the city gradually returned to its usual rhythm. Citizens noticed the changes with quiet relief, observing the smooth functioning of technology without fully understanding the complexity of what had occurred. Once the immediate crisis was resolved, the council convened to analyze the situation. The warrior spoke modestly, emphasizing teamwork, preparation, and adaptability. He explained that the challenge had been complex but not insurmountable, and highlighted the importance of learning from every obstacle. The diplomat listened intently, realizing that this approach defined human strength, a combination of intelligence, creativity, and moral clarity. Humans did not rely on force or intimidation to achieve success. Instead, they harnessed knowledge, foresight, and collaboration to overcome even the most difficult challenges. After the council session, the diplomat had a private conversation with the warrior. He expressed his admiration, acknowledging that he had never expected humans to possess such skill, resilience, and insight. The warrior responded with quiet humility, explaining that humans thrived on challenges, not because they sought them, but because they valued problem-solving, cooperation, and the protection of others. He emphasized that true strength was measured not by individual achievement, but by the ability to inspire, support, and guide those around them. The diplomat reflected on this, realizing that he had witnessed something extraordinary, a species capable of rising to any challenge through intelligence, ingenuity, and ethical action. Later, the diplomat spoke with the woman, who described the deeper philosophy behind the warrior's actions. She explained that humans had always succeeded not by relying solely on technology or physical ability, but by cultivating adaptability, moral judgment, and strategic thinking. She recounted stories of humans resolving crises on other planets, using creativity and collaboration to solve problems that seemed impossible. The diplomat listened, captivated, understanding that humans had a unique capacity to exceed expectations, to achieve greatness through intelligence, cooperation, and courage. He felt a profound respect for the species he had come to know. As evening approached, the city settled into a calm rhythm. The diplomat joined the warrior and the woman on a terrace overlooking the glowing towers. The warm light reflected off the buildings, creating a tapestry of color and shadow. The diplomat observed the warrior interacting with citizens, offering guidance and reassurance, checking systems and equipment with the same careful attention he had shown all day. Each gesture, each word, conveyed skill, thoughtfulness, and care. The diplomat realized that human brilliance was not always obvious, but when challenges arose, it shone with clarity and impact. The diplomat reflected on the lessons of the day. He had arrived expecting a formal visit, polite exchanges, and minor observations. Instead, he had witnessed extraordinary human capability in action. Intelligence applied with precision, creativity used to solve complex problems, and leadership that inspired trust and collaboration. The human warrior had demonstrated that true strength was not measured by brute force, but by skill, adaptability, and moral clarity. Humans were capable of extraordinary feats not because they sought recognition, but because they valued problem-solving, cooperation, and the protection of others. As night deepened, the diplomat prepared to leave the city. He packed his notes, reflecting on everything he had witnessed over the past days. His understanding of humanity had been transformed. He realized that humans could be underestimated only at one's peril. They were capable of extraordinary creativity, leadership, and resilience, thriving in situations where other species might falter. The warrior's actions had revealed not just the strength of one individual, but the potential of an entire species. The diplomat felt a profound sense of admiration, gratitude, and inspiration. Before departing, he spoke privately with the warrior and the woman. He expressed his deep respect, acknowledging that he had learned more about humanity in a few days than in decades of study. The warrior responded with quiet humility, emphasizing that humans were not perfect, but that their strength lay in their ability to learn, adapt, and support one another. The woman smiled, proud of her husband, and reinforced the lessons the diplomat had observed. Humans thrived not through domination, but through intelligence, cooperation, and ethical action. As the diplomat boarded his transport to leave the planet, he looked back at the city glowing beneath the night sky. The experience had changed him. He understood now that humans were extraordinary not because of appearances, size, or technology, but because of their intelligence, courage, and the ability to face challenges with creativity and integrity. The human warrior he had met was not an anomaly, but a reflection of what humanity could achieve when guided by purpose, thoughtfulness, and cooperation. During the journey home, the diplomat reviewed his notes one final time. He considered the lessons he had learned: the importance of observation, patience, and understanding, the value of creativity and adaptability, and the profound impact of ethical leadership and collaboration. He realized that humanity was a species capable of inspiring others, achieving greatness, and exceeding expectations in ways that were subtle, yet undeniable. He felt a deep sense of hope and admiration, knowing that the future of this species held incredible potential. As the stars passed by his window, the diplomat reflected on the human warrior and the woman who had guided him. He understood that their partnership, trust, and shared purpose had allowed him to witness the full scope of human capability. He thought about the crises they had faced, the problems they had solved, and the calm, intelligent leadership that had made it all possible. The diplomat felt a sense of gratitude for the opportunity to learn, observe, and be inspired. Humans, he realized, were capable of greatness in ways that could not always be predicted, but that were evident to anyone willing to pay attention. By the time the diplomat's transport approached his home planet, he had formed a lasting impression of humanity. He understood that their brilliance was not flashy or ostentatious, but quiet, steady, and deeply effective. Humans excelled in ways that combined intelligence, creativity, courage, and morality. They faced challenges with resilience, solved problems with ingenuity, and inspired those around them through trust, clarity, and collaboration. The diplomat knew that his reports would tell only part of the story. The true measure of humanity's greatness could only be understood through observation, experience, and reflection. As he stepped onto his home planet, the diplomat carried with him more than notes and observations. He carried respect, admiration, and a renewed understanding of a species that often exceeded expectations. He thought of the human warrior, the woman, and the city they had protected and guided. He realized that humanity was capable of inspiring hope, achieving excellence, and demonstrating that strength did not always rely on force, but on intelligence, courage, and ethical action. The diplomat returned to his duties, but he did so with a changed perspective. He shared his experiences with colleagues, describing not just the events, but the lessons, insights, and inspiration he had gained. He spoke of human resilience, creativity, and leadership, emphasizing the quiet power that came from observation, intelligence, and collaboration. His colleagues listened with fascination, many reassessing their own assumptions about humanity. The diplomat knew that the lessons he had learned would resonate far beyond his reports, shaping future interactions and understanding between species. As he settled into his routine, the diplomat reflected once more on the human warrior and the woman who had guided him. He realized that they represented not just individual excellence, but the potential of humanity as a whole. Their actions had shown him that humans were capable of achieving greatness, not through force, but through intelligence, adaptability, and ethical leadership. The diplomat felt gratitude, inspiration, and a profound respect for a species that had exceeded every expectation he had held.